I'm opposed to the proposal before us. My objections center on density, heritage, and height. I have insufficient time to cover all those concerns and instead will dwell on density. Greater detail will be provided in my overflow intervention, which will also contain remarks on heritage matters. So to begin with, how dense is Wall Financial Corporation's proposed redevelopment? I'm going to shorten that to Wall's proposal from now on. I know a later speaker plans to provide graphic street and air views of this project. Those will give an entirely new meaning to density, blighting a single-family housing neighborhood. Suffice to say, such density has nothing in common with the design that world-renowned Vancouver architect Arthur Erickson gave to Shannon Mews. Now on to a look at a numbers-based view of density. First, as to FSR. Before getting into this, I must point out that there are two different versions of FSR constantly floating around and tending to confuse people trying to understand the Wall proposal. First, there is inclusive or normal, or I'd be prone to say true, FSR. This is simply the floor space being proposed divided by the surface area of the site. Second, there is selective FSR. There are as many versions of that as people may wish to fabricate. The one most often seen is where balconies and in-suite storage space is simply subtracted and forgotten. Such selective FSRs are potentially very misleading, especially since balconies sometimes end up being enclosed after a project is built. Currently, Shannon Mews' inclusive FSR is 0.56. Since the current proposal calls for increasing the floor space from approximately 245 to about 808,000 square feet, Wall is requesting an inclusive FSR of 1.86, a more than threefold increase. Second, as to units, there are currently 162 units at Shannon Mews, and this is slated to rise to 735, a more than fourfold increase. Now on to residents. An estimate based on the 2006 census data suggests that there are currently 450 persons living on site. I did not find any projections of the number of persons who will be living at Shannon Mews if the Wall proposal is approved. Instead, I had to rely on my own estimates applied to the unit breakdown furnished by the city's planning department on June 10th of this year. I invite city planners or the Wall financial representatives present to share with this meeting their estimates of total residents expected in the completed project, as well as the methodology used to develop those estimates. If they choose not to do so, then I suggest we take my estimate of 1,552 residents as a good working hypothesis for this public hearing, and I'm willing to provide the assumptions that that estimate is based on. Now looking at cars. Again, I was compelled to use the unit breakdown supplied by city planning to estimate the number of cars that will be driven by future residents of Shannon Mews. And once again, I invite the city planners or the Wall Financial Corporation representatives present to share with this meeting their estimates of the total cars that will be owned by future Shannon Mews residents, as well as the methodology used to develop those estimates. In the absence of such information, perhaps we could take my estimate of 1,076 cars as a good working hypothesis for this public hearing. And again, I'm willing to provide the assumptions that that estimate is based on. One could estimate the current number of residents' cars as 185, which is the current number of below-grade parking stalls, plus around 35 habitually free-parked cars on Adira and along 57th. Since the parking stalls are apparently not fully rented, a more conservative and probably accurate estimate of the current number of cars would be about 200. In other words, the streets can expect to see about a five-fold increase in cars driven by Shannon Mews residents, and about 8 times more cars parked on the bordering streets. That is, I think you're going to see something like 287 cars, roughly speaking, parked on the streets. Now on to traffic problems that would be occasioned by approving this project. This is where the rubber truly does hit the road. Increased traffic is the most significant aspect of the Wall proposal as it will lead to, most significant negative aspect of the wall proposal, as it will lead to more congestion, reduced traffic safety, and increased pollution compared to what would have occurred if the density had been located near where rapid transit is located or planned.
Mr. Hewitt, you're over your 5 minutes.
Oh.
You about to wrap up?
Can I finish this section and then I'll come back to the next section when I go back to the end?
How much more do you have to go there?
Probably about, right now, about 2 minutes, but
So
I'm willing to put that at the end.
If you come back on.
But let me finish, could I finish the traffic problems point? That's about 1 minute. Okay,
the traffic section
I will
as
do.
quickly as you can.
Thank you very much. The residents will have to rely on cars since the proposed new development does not contain any of the many services and products they will require, and most of the nearest outlets are too far for any easy walk or bike ride. In addition, there is and likely will continue to be no rapid transit provided on Granville. According to an employee of the city's transport office, about all TransLink is currently considering for Granville is a few more buses. No bus-only lanes, trams, or subways are being discussed. The traffic study accompanying the wall proposal is somewhat sloppy, as I will show in my second intervention, and more to the point, highly incomplete. That's because it fails to consider other developments going in along Granville. This perfectly illustrates the most significant flaw in how the wall proposal has been influenced and processed by City Council and planners. So I'll leave you on that suspenseful note. Thank you.
Thank you.